I think it's 7 o'clock. Isn't it? I'm assuming we've got nobody from the public in.
We are expecting Gwen Sharp from Ramsden, but in fact she's here to speak regarding item 2526137. So what I'm going to suggest, Chair, if it's okay with you, is if we get to that item and she has arrived, then we suspend standing orders to allow her to speak. It is an early agenda item in recognition of the fact that we were expecting a visitor, but she's not here yet.
Okay. Right then, I'll call the meeting to order. Can I ask if you've got any questions or any points to make? Can you please raise your hand and I will get to you as soon as I can. Please try not to talk over each other, but you shouldn't be doing if you're raising your hand before you're talking anyway, in theory. And can I ask, we've also got quite a lot to get through, so while councillors are making points, if you've got some points to add to that, by all means raise your hand. If you're just reiterating what they've said, please keep that for the vote. Obviously, we can work it out. I'm assuming I'm not going to right. So, suspend standing orders. Is that
Sorry.
Do to do that, or just allow her to speak anyway?
Can I suggest, Chair, if it's okay with Gwen? Gwen, your item's on fairly early, and I'm going to suggest that we work through our procedural matters, and then when we come to the item that you've been invited for.
My only issue is I've left my daughter at home on her own.
Oh,
she
right.
wanted a tea.
Right, so...
And she's only 11, so I kind of...
Right, so we probably need to...
Sorry.
Suspend standing orders and move on to that agenda item.
Yes.
Yeah, she was meant to be, I was meant to be bringing her with me, but you know what kids are like, at 7:15, she said, I'm starving, can I just stay with the dog and eat my tea? So...
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's item 2526137, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is to do the civic lease decision needed regarding heads of terms.
I don't know if Councillor Bellamy wants to preface.
I can do it if you want. So we're not tonight being asked to approve full lease, but there is a point within the heads of terms which has implications for the long-term risk certainty and governance. So it's been brought here to look at the difference between, it's opting out, isn't it? And I can't find it.
Yeah, it's fine, I can explain
Right.
that if you want.
And I'll explain it.
So just, I think, for those who don't know who I am, I'm Gwen Sharp, I'm a partner at Ramsden's in the real estate team. I also only live at Turntown House, hence I've just run over. I thought it would be easier when I met with Jen and Donna last time, for me just to come and explain the point, because it's quite a technical legal point. So it's around what's called the Landlord and Tenant 1954 Act, which some of you, if you have business premises, may be aware of. But the premise is basically the law was changed after the war because landlords were legging everybody over. So it was brought in to protect tenants, and effectively the default position is that business leases are protected, and at the end of them a tenant has an automatic statutory right to request a renewal lease. And it's quite difficult for the landlord to refuse that request unless they've got certain grounds. So our advice is always to landlord clients, it's better to contract out, so you can contract out of that procedure by serving a notice and getting the tenant to enter into a declaration at the beginning before the lease. The issue here is you've got a landlord break clause, and whilst it's technically possible to have a landlord break in a lease that's got that protection, it's very difficult to operate it in practice. So if you need to have the flexibility of the landlord break clause, it doesn't apply in the case of the tenant break, that doesn't matter because they're effectively terminating their own lease, but because the heads of terms has a landlord rolling break clause, our advice is you need it to be contracted out of this act. So it was that point that Donna wanted me to come and just discuss with you.
Has anybody got any questions?
think you were also going to just check with the tenant how that fit with their grant requirements? Because part of the reason for them asking for this longer lease is to enable them to apply for grants. But if, I don't know if when someone acting through a grant authority receives the lease, they just see the term and tick, or whether if it's got landlord breaks in it, or indeed tenant breaks, whether that causes them any issues for the grant conditions.
I think that was something we'd communicated with the trustees, and we did offer a meeting, but there wasn't any take-up to have a meeting with the trustees between our meeting with you and this meeting here.
Yeah.
So just to clarify for everyone. So if you remember, originally the request to review the lease came from the Civic Trust, and because we wanted to look into the whole VAT issue, you know, it seemed a good way of addressing both those issues. So that the heads of terms of the new lease are very much in favour of the trustee, in as much as it's got this extended term of 35 years. The thing you're being asked to consider today is whether or not to opt out of this Landlord and Tenant Act 1954. The significance of that is it gives a lot of protection to the tenant. But if that's in, you as the landlord would have no kind of break clause at all, no way of getting out the lease, and when that 35-year term came to an end, the tenant would have a right to a new lease, and there's very little you would be able to do about that.
You can basically only take it back if you want it for your own use, and you can evidence that, or you need it back for redevelopment. And it's not just that, oh, we're going to redevelop it, people need to evidence that's the need to be able to evidence things like finance in place and planning consents and the like. So, and as we said at the meeting, the legislation's only moving in one direction at the moment. I know primarily residential, but this act has been under review as well. And at the moment they've said to park it, but I have no doubt that in 35 years time this act will have changed and it'll only go one way. So my advice would be to contract it out now. But obviously then we've got the issue that the tenant is not legally represented, doesn't seem to want to take advice, like you say, hasn't taken you up on the meeting. So I think when we do eventually send them the draft lease out, we'll have to make it very clear as solicitors, when you're acting for on the other side of someone who's not represented, we would advise them to get legal advice, and we would highlight that point to them as well, because we're obliged to do that as part of our regulations. So you might all say, well, yeah, that's a no-brainer. You're telling us there's not really any downside to you in going for it, but then the tenant might then go and take advice and might push back on it.
So, but this is the main point in that Councillor Bellamy wanted you as a council to make a decision over this particular heads of term, rather than it just being the working group that were looking at it, and that's why it's on the agenda tonight.
That's right.
I think we definitely choose to exempt from it. It seems no reason not to, and if the tenant objects further along the line,
Then
we
we
deal
can
with
look
that
at
at that point. But at this point, we do what's in our best interest.
Yes.
So I propose that.
I'll
Yes.
second that. I'll second Councillor Hams's proposal.
All those in favour then? Anyone against? I don't think so. No. No abstentions. That's carried.
I should be voting too.
No, Councillor Ramsey doesn't be seconded either.
I'll second it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
As chair of the working group, so.
Nobody's not interested yet, so it's okay.
Yeah, well,
But I want to do what to make the decision and then say
Thank you.
You're welcome, sorry, I had to push it. When we get a bit further along the line and we get the lease agreed, if it's easier for me just to come to the meeting and go through it again, that's...
Thank you. Thank you for running out.
It's alright, I've definitely drove incapable church.
Do take care, I've just come over and nearly slipped.
I know, it's really slippy. Well, I don't work in Holme, I work at our open house office, you know, in Edgerton, and the pavement's there, because it's the old flagstone. Really slippery. Yeah, they are very slippery. Right. Thank you.
Okay, right, we'll move back to the agenda. The meeting as usual will be recorded. Does anybody wants to make a private recording of the meeting? No? Do we have any items that people consider we need to hear in private session?
Before you move on to that, please, Chair, there is the email that was attached regarding the purchasing of better quality recording equipment that has been raised with the Clark team. So it may be that you want to consider further actions regarding future recording of meetings, perhaps a motion to direct the Clark team to research what equipment is used by other councils to good effect and come back to a future meeting with possible costs.
I had a meeting with Gemma to talk about IT systems in the home, and this was covered as part of that. So we're gonna do some research and find out what's available out there.
Right, so that's in hand then.
Yes, yeah. Yes, that's what
So we don't need to do anything else?
No,
That's in hand?
we're going to look at it. The feeling was that there are various opportunities out there, but the problem with a lot of these things is unless you spend a lot of money, you're not going to get massive improvements. So I think we're trying to come up with what practical solution we could have. Maybe more microphones spaced around that will pick up people's comments clearer.
Is it appropriate to speak to this now, or shall I wait until?
You can, if you've got comments.
Okay, I feel, yes, I feel quite strongly about this, because this is, to my mind, is about both transparency and accessibility. And it's one of those cases where you find out what matters and what difference things make when you have a problem, something arises for yourself. My hearing has deteriorated enormously over the last 2 years. I couldn't hear what the Ramsden's solicitor was saying clearly, I'm afraid. I find it almost impossible to decipher what comes out of the recording system that we have at the moment. So for me, it's not just a personal thing. Actually, there are, over 50% of people over 60 have some sort of hearing loss. So the ability to access a recording is predicated on how clear and how closed captioned it is and all that sort of thing. So all I would be doing would be asking for those considerations. So yes, it's about making things available to the widest number of people, and I think we would get more engagement if it was clearer, but also that whole accessibility issue. Thank you.
Just ask, does that mean we're not just talking about recording, but we may also be talking about amplifying
I think so.
things in the meeting?
I think so.
We can certainly consider that. It's not something we've thought about, but it's a good point.
It's all part of the same picture, really.
Okay, any items to be heard in private session? No. Apologies and reasons for absence. Those have been emailed out, I believe.
So you've had reasons from Councillor Colling, Councillor Reid, Councillor Brooke, Councillor Lyles and Councillor Fenwick.
Are we in agreement to those reasons for absence? Receipt of written declaration of pecuniary and other interests.
So I've sent out revised DPIs from Councillor Bailey and Councillor Davis. So these are to note, and I think Councillor Bailey may wish to speak
About that, or I can speak about it now if you like, or I was going to do it under the monitoring thing, but or you're talking about the dispensation, sorry.
You've written dispensation.
Yes. Sorry?
You've written dispensation.
My written dispensation, yes.
Yeah.
Right, okay, so I put in a request for dispensation to be able to both speak and vote in respect of Hayde Edge Residents Association. because I'm on the committee there, and I've declared that all the way along. The only reason I'm on the committee is because I'm a parish councillor. I don't live in Hayledge, and they wanted me on there, and it's very, very helpful to them and to me in understanding their needs and so on. But there is no benefit from it to me in terms of personal gain of any sort, pecuniary or otherwise. And I feel that I can best represent, and I know this isn't just about my situation, this applies to others as well. The best way I can represent the people that have elected me for that ward is to be able to speak and vote on issues that they're raising, and the Residents Association is the voice of that particular community.
What would happen if there was some financial gain from that?
For whom? For me?
No, for the Residents Association.
Well, it almost certainly will be, it's for grants.
So does that give you a conflict in that you're then potentially voting for that?
I don't think, not for me it doesn't. It does for the community, but not for me, because I don't gain, personally. I don't gain any more than anybody else here that goes into Hayledge for the gala.
I wasn't suggesting that for a minute. More that the organisation that you're representing would be gaining. Similarly to the civic, to the library, we have the same situation, don't we?
Yeah, I think it's a wider
So what we do there is we have a dispensation to speak but not vote.
Councillor Whitehall.
I think there is a distinction to be made between organisations which are nested within a ward or within the whole of the parish council area, and a community group which is part of the ward in which you are you're representing. So for me, the same thing would apply for Holme Residents Association, because that's bang in the middle of, that's a big part of my ward, and same thing applies, no pecuniary interest or anything, I don't live in her, but etc, etc. So I think there is a distinction to be drawn between, say, the civic or Rotary or the tech or whatever, and this community association.
Anybody got further? Councillor Rossler.
I don't know how confidential it is, but there is a councillor who is chair of Netherthorne Community Organisation, so that will perhaps have the same, which is not in that councillor's ward, so that will perhaps have the same implications. And it just becomes problematic if we all start saying, well, I represent somebody in this area, so I can't actually speak up for them or vote for them. Especially when we're not getting our own personal pecuniary benefit.
Councillor Dixon.
You might not be getting personal gain for it, but you might be getting political gain from it, because if you're putting things forward and you're voting for it and it's going through in your area, that's the way I kind of interpret it. And if I interpret it that way, other people might be doing it as well. I think that when I spoke with the person who gives advice about these interests before, they said to us that if it's grey area, and this is a grey area, but there's a few people debating it now and saying, is it right, is it wrong? And I don't think that you've got any interest in doing anything dodgy or anything. You're not that kind of guy. I'm not trying to put that across, but I just think that if it's grey and it does look a bit grey, I wouldn't go there. I'm all for like speaking about it and all that kind of stuff and speaking it up beforehand. But when the vote comes in, get in the room.
If I wasn't on the Residents Association,
Yeah.
and yet why? Why would be the difference? Because there is still a potential political gain.
Yeah, I know. It is tricky. You could argue that we shouldn't vote on anything in our wards because it's got our own interest in there. You could argue that, yeah. But you are very much, you're more interested because you're part of the Residents Association. But I totally get it.
Councillor Green, you have a point.
I'm agreeing with Councillor Dixon, so take your hand down.
Okay. Councillor Davis, you have your hand up.
As I was made aware. I chose not to speak or vote on the Christmas tree grant that we gave to partnership, Community Partnership, and on just Trust for things doing to us.
But Netherthong's not your ward.
I live in Netherthong, it's not mine.
It's not, you're not the people that
No.
you're representing,
No.
that's the difference.
No.
Well, if he's a member of that group though, then, yeah.
Yeah.
Councillor Holme?
I feel that you should be able to speak and vote on, for the benefit of the people you represent. You know, I think you being part of that organisation helps you understand their needs, and you have a duty almost to stand up for what they are requesting. But, you know, especially if you've been transparent about it, you know, you've sort of expressed that, and there's transparency there.
I just want to say this is clearly an ongoing issue for this council. You have received training,
Yes.
you have received guidance, it's been reissued several times now as well. And I'm just going to go back to one of the things that was said in the training, which was that if in doubt, declare it. And I feel that YLCA were really clear that if you have a declared interest, actually, the norm is you do not vote.
It can speak.
Councillor Rowell?
I think it just concerns me that there is no end to this. You could say that about Kirk Youth councillors that are not allowed to speak for their particular ward, or you could go to a meeting of the combined authority and not be able to represent your particular area. I think if you're not getting any benefit from that, then I think personally that would be fine. And I can't imagine that all the parish councils operate like that. Because there are so many things that we're all involved in. I mean, as Lawrence was saying about paid edge. So, yeah, personally, I think I would allow it. If you're not getting any benefit in terms of amounts of money, etc.
I don't think it's about your personal views, I think it's about what the guidance you've received has been. I'm going to say no more about it because I feel that you're forcing me into positions I don't want to be in, where I'm kind of directing you, and you shouldn't need directing about this because you've been given the training and you've been given the guidance.
I think the view was that if it's a grey area, then you shouldn't be voting. I think personally it's okay to speak because you may know that situation better than most people. It happens, say for the Civic, you're representing the Civic on our behalf, I'm representing the library again on our behalf. So I think speaking's fine, but not voting, that's what we'd agreed to previously.
I'd agree with that. I think you should be allowed to speak, but if it does seem a little bit grey, I think you're better off stepping away and not voting, because it's, when all said and done, it's what the public perceive. So if they see you voting, and they think, oh, well, you're involved with them, it doesn't look, you know, open and transparent and all the rest of it. So, but I don't think there's an issue with speaking at all.
I would agree with that, and to be honest, I don't, in the meetings we run, I don't see the point of leaving the room at any point, because I can watch the video and see what happened anyway when I'm out of the room.
Yeah.
So, yes, Councillor Osborne.
I can see where the thing about not voting comes from, but I do think there's a risk that we're setting up to discourage parish councillors from getting involved with local community organisations, which is surely not a good thing.
I can't agree or disagree with you. We've had some training. We were told to use our judgment, and if it's grey and you're not certain, then the best way to do it is to stick to what we agreed, I believe. Councillor Bailey.
Having listened to what's been said, I'm going to withdraw my request to vote on the voting.
Yeah.
Can I suggest that we go with the dispensation for speaking but not voting?
Yeah. Okay. Everybody happy with that? Yeah. Okay, just put your hand up just to confirm. Thank you. Okay, anything else on that? We'll kind of move on to declaration of interest in agenda items and written dispensations.
So can we note Councillor Bailey and Councillor Davis written declarations of genuine interest then?
Yeah.
Noted.
Interests.
Yes. Councillor Bellamy?
I've got a bit of an interest in the Pacos Bridge one because I brought it in, but so I won't vote, but I will speak.
Okay. Councillor O'Reilly?
For the tech shareholder.
Councillor Wilson?
Civic.
Councillor Holmes?
The tech, but I have actually terminated my interest in the tech, but I've not submitted a new TPI yet, so for the purposes of this, I won't vote.
Councillor Stewart?
Tech, and Moses Cook is my stepson.
Councillor Whitelaw? Okay. Is that it?
See,
Oh, sorry. Councillor Ramsby?
The tech and the civic.
Okay. Moving on. Minutes of full council meetings. Clerk to report.
So the minutes of full council meeting held on 20th of October, numbered 252698 to 2526 have been presented for your approval. And just before you go to approval, my thanks to Rich for minuting that meeting and doing all the clerking for it in my absence. Very grateful.
Thank you.
So you ready to, you need to take a vote on approving.
Yeah, are we okay to approve those minutes? Anyone against? Okay.
I'm not sure there is any information regarding ongoing matters that don't occur otherwise in the agenda for tonight.
Okay. Minutes of standing committee meetings. To note the minutes of the planning committee meeting held on the 6th of October, which were approved at the planning committee meeting on the 10th of November. Again, to approve the minutes of the staffing committee meeting held on the 3rd of November 2025.
So you need to vote on this.
Yes. All those in favour of approving those? Anyone against? Okay. To approve the minutes of the planning meeting held on the 10th of November 2025. Also in agreement? Anyone against? Okay. To approve the minutes of the service provision committee meeting held on the 17th of November 2025. You only need to approve these. So.
I think that Councillor Bailey may have an amendment. Do you want to make an amendment on those? Regarding the tourism?
Yes, but I don't know what it was, so can we move on? Sorry.
it was to do with the...
Was it adult side?
Yeah. Sorry, we've had some correspondence, and I suggested that Councillor Bailey bring an amendment to the meeting. It was just to clarify in the minutes that in terms of Holme Valley Tourism Partnerships Heritage Week Committee and the evolution of a heritage central centres being under consideration, the civic was one location option that could be considered, and the Gartside unit was also possible. This was to clarify that rather than, I just made a very brushstroke statement in the minutes. So I'm happy to make that amendment.
Thank you.
So we're happy to approve the amendment and the rest of the minutes. Okay, thank you.
Passing on chocolates and I'm waking up a bit. I'm not saying them back now.
You can go with that.
And finally, to approve the minutes of the Finance and Management Committee meeting held on the 1st of December 2025. All those in agreement? Anyone against? Okay. Item 136, resignation of a councillor. Clerk to report.
Yeah, so Isaac resigned as of Friday the 7th of November. A notice of vacancy was posted Monday the 10th of November, and if an election is held, it will be on Thursday the 5th of February. We'll know that on the 31st of December, and Gemma is working the morning of New Year's Eve so that any notification we receive from being published on the notice board and via the website.
Councillor Davis?
Are we not already aware that there's going to be an election? Because of that signatures.
It depends if someone puts themselves forward.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
There's only one person then.
Okay. Topical matters, item 137 we covered earlier, so item 138, out of cycle grant applications. So there's 2 grant applications for consideration.
Can I just say that with regard to the auctioneer makers, we have since received a constitution from them. I've got a few copies of it that I can pass round if you want to visit it. So there is a constitution that
Do we need to decide whether we're going to consider them out of cycle things first, or rather than,
yeah, sorry, I'm just rushing.
So, as Councillor Bailey has said, these have come as out of normal cycle grant applications. And there are certain things that we specify we would look at emergency grants, if you like, according to whether or not they meet the criteria. I know Councillor Bailey, you've looked at the auctioneer makers information.
yeah, but without the benefit of this, obviously.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing to consider.
To consider whether or not we can accept them as out of cycle grants. Councillor Bellamy?
Yeah, I've got some concerns about this because it's precedent, and if the minute we start taking these grants out of cycle, I don't think either of them are emergency. Well, they don't look like an emergency. The minute we start doing that, then nobody is going to bother sticking to the rules of keeping in cycle. So, to be honest, I'd say no, we shouldn't.
Councillor Ransby?
These two, earlier this year, we approved a grant for the Pride weekend, which was an emergency, it was done at very short notice. Neither of these two, in my view, meet that criteria. And I would suggest that we don't treat them as emergencies.
Councillor Blacker?
I was going to say exactly the same as Councillor Ransby. None of these are really emergencies. They both organisations must have done some planning before. So I suggest that we don't treat them as emergencies and suggest that they resubmit in the normal cycle.
Councillor Wilson?
I think it's probably quite important to think about why we're doing them in cycle. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. I think it's important from a consistency point of view that the same group of people looks at the grants. If we take them out of cycle, we've got different groups looking at it, potentially coming up with a different decision. I think it's also important that you set them against all the other grants. There may come a time when we have to choose. We may have to scale back some of the value of those grants. You can't do that if you consider them individually. And I think I'd just echo what's already been said. I don't consider either of these emergencies. I mean, there's an argument that perhaps you take one because of its subject matter, you might have a bit more subtle sympathy with, but they know about it, they knew when the grant cycle was.
Councillor Dixon?
Yeah, I don't disagree that they're probably both cocked up with their timing, because they were supposed to have it in by, when was it, October, the last time to do it. Yeah, it doesn't fall very nicely with me, I think. Like if they are wanting to provide a heating space and provide food for residents who need meals or need heating spaces, and if they could do more with the money that we can provide to them, then I understand they do have reserves, but then it's like it says here, it's not seen as a large amount of reserves for like kind of buildings that they have. And like even with the compost one as well, it is annoying that they're putting these things in late and things like that. And I'm sure the project itself is kind of even a bit debatable where we want to give a grant application to it, but do we want to see an empty building in the middle of term first, or are they actually renting it and using it now? Have they started doing it? It says December on the grant application. Does anyone know if they're doing anything there or not, or is it just empty?
She's got the space, hasn't she, because it's all over there.
So it's actually doing something.
I don't know, she's going to stand there.
Okay, well, I'm more sympathetic towards the text plans, because if they could do more with them, if we were to give them the money, and it's short, and it is last minute, it's like the project starting from the 2nd of January to the 31st of March, so it kind of is emergency in that sense, but, and I do understand that they haven't done it with the time.
Am I right in thinking that they're putting an emergency grant last year? Is that correct? But they didn't use the money and returned it. So they
Yes, that's right.
So they would have known that they wanted this money.
Well, they did it.
Right. So okay, Councillor Davis.
I was going to say I'm sympathetic to the Warm Spaces building. I do know other Warm Spaces buildings in the area that are completely run by volunteers, and on their grant application it says that there are activity leaders fees of £30 an hour, which equates to more than the grant that we will be giving.
Okay.
Which doesn't sit right with me when there are other volunteers that do it for free.
So I guess the first thing to consider is whether a grant application from Yorkshire Medium Makers satisfies the council's stipulation for an emergency grant. Do we have anybody in favour of supporting this? All those against? Anybody abstain? So that's carried. And then secondly, to consider whether a grant from Home First Tech satisfies the council stipulation that all emergency grants will be considered outside of the normal cycle. Anybody in favour of agreeing that this should be considered an emergency grant? All those against? Any abstains?
Do we not abstain on the question?
Okay, council budget 25-26 year to date, including earmarked reserves. Is this your time to shine?
Yeah, I've just finished the November financial records. So I'm going to talk about the November records rather than the October ones which you've actually received, because I feel it's more important to get the sort of up-to-date picture. As you're aware, the staffing expenditure is going to probably be about 3,000 over at the year end. That was because of my mistake when the budget was set. Since the last finance meeting, we've had a lot of expenditure to do with Home for Toilets and the solar panels project. So lots of their budget lines and earmarked reserves have now vanished, or they're down to zero. So the earmarked reserve Gartside building is down to zero. The Gartside Energy project earmarked reserve is down to zero, and the toilets refurb is down to zero. The budget line public toilet lettable space, that is now down to zero. And the climate action budget line, which is the only one that's kind of having money go into it, that's going to be about, currently it's £2,672 in deficit. You may remember that it was expected that this project would go over budget and the money would come from earmarked reserves. We've got another invoice in for the architectural services for 400, and we're expecting a bill for the closure of the extra week of the parking spaces. So we're going to probably be about 3,500 in deficits, by the end of the year. I think the agreement was something like 4,500, so they should still be under what was agreed by council. So that's the situation with that. We're also in a situation where the Christmas provision budget line is likely to be overspent as well. Councillors may be aware that Kirks, who've supplied our trees for many years, are no longer doing it, so we have to find a new supplier, which is more expensive, and we are having to pay for the disposal of the trees as well. So that and inevitably the Kirklees tree got more expensive, and we paid more money to Holme for the Christmas team, is that right, Jen, than we have normally. So that budget line is likely to be overspent as well. Probably not awfully significant, but it will be overspent. The committee has suggested about wiring money from one of their other budget lines, so it should essentially be, a zero cost at the end of the year. In terms of earmark reserves, as I've said, the ones to do with the toilets have all been closed essentially. I've also closed the dog waste and litter one, so most of that's in hand now. The only one I've not closed yet is the community assets one, which I need to put through council to basically shut that down, but I'll do it at the next meeting. Otherwise, everything's pretty much going to plan. Nothing's particularly, last year we had the terrible situation where the Senate came to us for 22,000 at this time of the year, so we've not had anything like that this year. So hopefully we're in a better position than we were last year. That's me. I don't know whether anybody's got any questions about anything.
Schedule of payments.
Normally there's things for you to approve, but this time there's no payments that need approving because they're all kind of pre-approved by other means. I don't know whether anybody's got any questions about anything. I just wanted to make the point with regard to the social progress one, which doesn't have an authorisation to pay. In the end, we had to pay that using something in financial regulation 6.83, which is about authorising a payment to avoid a charge under the Late Payment of Commercial Debts Act. This is one sort of facility we have to use if we haven't got a meeting in the right cycle to be able to pay somebody at the right time. So just to make the point that that's what we use to pay that bill essentially.
Okay. Thanks, Rich. Next, referrals to the monitoring officer.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Can I apologise for the obtuse wording in what I put into the narrative for the agenda here? I can only report the information I get from the monitoring officer, but I did receive a further verbal update on Thursday the 11th of December, which I can brief the council on. So first of all, the two outstanding complaints referred to have been closed with no breach found to have occurred. The complainant and the subject of the complaints have been informed that this is closed with no breach found. And then secondly, the complaint about the declaring of interest is being treated as a formal complaint and is under investigation, and the subject of the complaint will be informed of that, and the complainant will also be informed that this is now being treated as a formal complaint and under investigation.
Thank you. Councillor Bailey?
This is separate to what Jen's just reported. So this may be a first for this council. I have self-referred to the monitoring officer. I know. It all goes on unvalid, doesn't it? Sorry? Absolutely. It came to my attention when I was putting my revised DPI that something that I had on there in 2023 and 2024 had slipped off. But I'll tell you what it is. It's the holding the share in the tech. So there was no secret here about it, and I have pointed that out in my statement to the monitoring officer that there was no, I wasn't trying to conceal anything because you all knew about it and it's come up frequently. but it wasn't it's a non-pecuniary interest because there was no reward, anyway, that's so I've asked. I sent it via Jen, and it's just in the last. It would have just gone through today back to the monitoring officer. If I'm not here by the next meeting, I'll join you by Zoom from Wakefield Link.
I doubt it'll come to that, but you know. Anybody got any questions on that?
I think it'll be no.
Oh, no, it's written. Okay.
Okay. Moving on then. Holme Civic Hall Vision Project. Who's going to speak through this one?
Before anyone speaks, can I just update the council further regarding dates?
Yes, I noticed there are a number of emails been coming out today.
There have been a number of emails over the latter half of last week and then today as well. So, as you know, Tim Mosdale did confirm that Monday the 26th of January would be a date he could make, but Andy's let me know that Alex Brain can't make that date and is queried whether you as a council would want to go forward with a date that the chair of the trust couldn't make. So on the back of that, I've had further correspondence with Alex and Tim, to which Graham was copied in as well, about dates when Alex could be available. And Alex has got back to me, and both Alex and Tim could make Tuesday the 3rd of February, Wednesday the 4th of February, Thursday the 5th of February, Wednesday the 11th of February. Two other dates as well, Monday the 9th of February, but Andy's told me tonight there's a planning meeting then, and Tuesday the 10th of February I understand is a land charity meeting. So it may be, as part of your consideration, you want to look at these dates, which as of today is not a guarantee that both Alex and Tim would be able to make those meetings.
What times are they at? Sorry.
I made an assumption 7 till 9.
Right, okay.
I don't know what we're there.
Councillor Wilson.
Could I just say that I think the likelihood of finding the dates when 22 of us plus another 7 trustees are going to be available seems to happen. I think it's a best fit, isn't it? My thoughts are along the lines of we must have Alex as chair of trustees, and probably we must have yourself as chair of the council. After that, I think it's just best fit. And if we can't make it, we can't make it.
I just want to be directed as to what date you want.
Can you repeat the dates again?
Yes. So it's Tuesday the 3rd of February, Wednesday the 4th of February, Thursday the 5th of February, or Wednesday the 11th of February.
Tuesday.
Out of all them, I'd say Tuesday 3rd. Maybe by Wednesday 4th and Wednesday 11th, because I've got my brothers and I've got
I can make Wednesday the
took a
3rd.
full council.
Tuesday the 3rd.
Tuesday the 3rd, sorry, yes. Are you available on that day at once? You know.
Yeah.
Has anybody got any objection to holding a meeting on Tuesday the 3rd of February?
That's the only date I can make.
The only one I can as well.
Is that an objection?
Can I ask that someone propose a motion to that
Propose
date?
Tuesday the 3rd.
I'll send it.
Yeah.
There you go.
All those in favour of that date?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone against? Tuesday the 3rd.
Thank you.
Would you be communicating that to us?
Yes. So and then there is a proposal from Councillor Holmes.
Okay, well, the proposal was based on my looking back at the agreement that we had with the architects. And I'm delighted that the architects finally got in touch with us to present their ideas, because I had been beginning to worry that we would have wasted the money and the very good ideas that have been presented at the meeting in August. And it seems that, according to the document that you should have looked at, which was H2, that set out our agreement with the architects, says that we should have established a vision working party. So that's my proposal, that to fulfil our obligations and our relationship with the architects, that we establish a civic vision working group in partnership with the HBCHCT, so that we can work productively with the architects. So that's what I want to propose.
I'll second that.
All those in favour?
Okay, sure.
Anyone against? Okay. So we are having a working group.
Okay.
I guess the next question is.
Yes.
Go on. Carry on, Jenny. Go on, carry on.
I mean, I think it has to be an equal partnership between the trust and the parish council. So I do want to have equal numbers on both. So, and I would also like us to meet before we meet with the architects now on the 3rd of February. So, first of all, who would be willing to be on that visionary group? And then, once you've agreed that, then before we leave tonight, to fix up a date when we can meet and which we can suggest to the trustees. Okay? So, I do want it to be people who've got the time and the commitment to be on the vision group, because I think what the architects are presenting is very exciting, and you know, I really do want us to move forward with that vision. So I'm hoping there's enough interest and time and commitment to form a really productive working partnership, working vision group.
I think, yeah, we need to do it clearly. Could I ask that we have some sort of rules about what we're doing, some terms of reference, and end dates, so we're clear about what we're trying to do.
Well, I think that's already established in the document that we had with the architects. It says they want to work closely with the parish council and the Holme Civic Hall Community Trust trustees through a vision working group throughout the development. The intention would be to look at every aspect of the building, assessing how it is used now and how it might be used in the future. And it goes on to itemise in that we've agreed to this. We agreed to this back in June and in August. So I think we've been remiss in not setting up this vision group before now to do what we said we'd do way back in the summer. So I think, are we happy to stick with that? I mean, it does sound quite broad, but I think it is quite broad. And we can be more specific as to how we move forward month by month. Yeah? Or do you want to be more specific?
The first thing, didn't it, to set out what we're trying to achieve?
Yes. Yeah, we want to set out, well, an effective way of working with the architects so that it's a productive relationship.
Can I suggest that the working party consists of 5 members of this council and the 5 trustees, so that Councillor Wilson, myself, plus 3 others form the council side of the working party?
You can be both, can't you?
You can be both.
You can be there in virtue of being a trustee or there in virtue of being a parish councillor. Are there other people who would like to be part of the visionary group?
You're taking offers now?
I'm taking offers, yes. Yes. So Lawrence, Glenn and Sarah. Yes? And myself, me, I want to be on it.
And then
you and Andy can be on it as both, one as a parish councillor and one as a trustee.
Yeah.
And then we'll get a letter to the trustees as soon as possible to agree a meeting before the 3rd of February. Yes? So, right. Glenn, Sarah.
Yourself and Alice.
Glenn, I would volunteer myself, but depending on the numbers.
Okay.
Well, if it's 5, that's fine.
So So, first of all, is it either Andy or Steve who is going to
No,
represent the
I think
trust?
Andy and I will now represent the trust.
Right, so I've got Councillor Bailey, Councillor Kirkby, Councillor Whitelaw, Councillor Holmes. Is that correct? Have I missed someone? Alison Morgan.
Councillor Morgan.
If it's
Right.
5, me,
Okay.
It's only because with the trustees only having 7,
Yeah.
They'll be
Andy and I
struggling.
are 2 of the 7, it sort of leaves them a little
Yeah.
tight in numbers.
Yeah. So do you want to put forward a motion that's the makeup of the council side,
Yes.
so that it's resolved?
Can I go to second that? All those in favour? That was it for the civic, I think, wasn't it?
Did you say you wanted to look at dates as well, Councillor Holmes?
I do, but I think, shall we do that at the end of the meeting with those few people?
That's fine.
Yeah, does that seem okay?
Yeah,
So
okay.
don't disappear before the end of the meeting.
Okay, Home First Town Centre Works, updates and oversight.
So a letter was sent to Kirkby's council, not had any reply to that. Is there any other further actions or updates regarding the town centre works that people would like to make us aware of? That's all right.
Councillor Ryan?
I can do an update.
Yeah.
So this is the update that's gone to the ward councillors. So Moses Brook and Damien Brook will also have exactly the same as well. And it's from the Kirklees team. And we're talking about 2026 now and what happens in January. So back to Holligate in January. So from the 6th of January to the 19th of January, it will be removal of the existing bridge. Traffic will continue to flow on Holligate under a narrow lane traffic management system. From the 19th of January to the 6th of February, then it'll be excavating the pile cap, apparently pile caps, you might know this, I didn't, concrete slabs that connect the piles. And constructing the new reinforced pile cap. This stage requires a full road closure on Holligate, so that's the 19th of January to the 6th of February. 21st of January to the 2nd of March, in parallel, we'll be carrying out wider work on Holligate, also under the road closure. From the 3rd of March to the 9th of March, progressing resurfacing and applying new road markings. The intention is to complete this during daytime as the road will already be closed. So in terms of the TTROs, the traffic legal documents, it will be extended from the 5th of January through to the end of March, but in reality it may not take so long. So a couple of important points. Access to Rocher Road will be maintained throughout, except during the resurfacing on the 3rd and 9th of March, and communications will be managed and will be issued. Also, access over Lower Mill Lane will continue to operate under four-way traffic lights, consistent again with the arrangements over the past month. Kirklees officers have sent out letters to businesses, and they've also gone around and they've spoken to businesses. So, and actually the business on the WhatsApp has a copy of this as well, so all the business team should know. So that's January.
Thank you.
Anybody any questions? Councillor White?
communication strategy, Jane, was them putting it in the notice board outside the library?
It should be there,
Yes,
I
there
guess.
you
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
It's probably a slightly different version,
Yeah.
but it'll have all the main
Thank
points
you.
in there, yeah.
Councillor Ryder, could I ask if you could let me have a copy of that?
Yeah,
and I
sure.
can include it in minutes.
Councillor Bellamy?
Yeah, can I suggest that since we haven't had a response from Parish, that you send a chase that? Because I think they should have responded. And we've all been told it's going to finish in spring. So,
Which spring?
well, that's what I said. Well, that's mine.
Okay, anybody have questions on that?
I think this bit is perhaps appropriate at this point, that at the same time as we were discussing the road closure, we talked about how we could be supporting the businesses, and videos have now been made and some of them have already gone out promoting Holme Town Centre. You know, that I hope people have been seeing them and sharing them. There's 2 gone out already, 3rd one view, and 3 more that are more based in Holme in the bigger area are going out in the new year. So we've made good progress with that, and I think we've done.
And how many businesses have we gone to? How many businesses have we gone to?
Well, quite a lot. And
I'm not looking for quite some, I want some figures. How many have we gone to?
how many have we gone to in terms of that included in the video? Is that what you're asking me?
Well, I want to know how many shops have been informed of what's going on.
I think most of all the shops have been.
The ones I've been to haven't known much about the job.
Well, I don't know what it's not been my job to actually inform all the
It
businesses.
doesn't appear to be anybody's job here anyway to do anything.
Councillor Wyler?
There are, I'm just, bear with me a moment, I was just going to give you an exact number because the WhatsApp group, which is the main means of communication with a number of businesses, not all, but given that there are hundreds of businesses, some of whom are directly concerned with the centre of Home Firth, if you like, the ones who are feeling a lot of impact, but they are all on the WhatsApp group and are well informed. Can I just finish? They're well informed because that group is very good at communicating to its members and engaging its members. So if there's anybody who you are suggesting is not well informed, then please do come to us because I'm the nominated person from the Parish Council to communicate and liaise with Home Firth business together. So that would actually be really helpful if there are people who you say are not involved.
Yeah.
So if you would do that, that'd be really helpful.
Councillor Dixon?
I've seen the videos and they look really good. I think it'd be interesting to know like what the viewing figures are like and how many people like click on them or
The
views it
first
or
one was
get
10,000.
10,000, brilliant. It's like I've shared some event things for our Friends of Cliffrec event that we had at the weekend, and then look, that 2,500 views just by showing it on the community pages, which is crazy just for like a few posts. So over 10,000. It's really good. And as well, we should all try and be positive cheerleaders for Home Firth as well. It comes down to us. I was talking to somebody who I work with, working up lives over in Northwich, in Cheshire. Used to come over to Home Firth quite a bit as a child from a Stockport way. Hasn't been over in years. Talking to him, he's coming over Christmas. And it's about people doing that, being positive about it, and all the good things that there are in Home Firth. And at the moment, the roads are all open, so it's not that bad at the moment. Don't get me wrong, it's going to be not very good again in January, February, March, but it's probably the best time to be doing these works and closing down, because it'll be the quietest time of the year anyway for Home Firth in terms of visitors. So hopefully in the spring, hopefully it'll all be finished by then, and we're going to get some good weather and get plenty of visitors in to see all the good things that happen in Home Firth.
Oh, sorry. One of the things that we will do, so there are 6 of these videos that we've commissioned, one with Redback and the other with the group in Holme, and we will be collecting all the data around viewing figures and where they've been circulated and. So we'll bring those figures back to full council, I think, via the communication engagement group in the first instance. But that's really, I mean, it's a point well made. It's really useful information in terms of assessing how useful this is as a strategy. What we can't know, of course, is how that impacts on people's behaviour in terms of coming to all we can do is record what people look at and, yeah.
Okay.
Excuse me, why have we waited till now to do all this? This job's been going on for close on 2 years and nothing's been done. I've had people around my neck saying we're going out of business, we're losing businesses. And you suddenly decide we're going to do something now. Why have you waited 2 years over before you even got off your backside to sort something
It was
out?
a year since it started, the works. It wasn't 2 years for starters.
Sorry?
It was a year since the work started. All the job, all the works in there.
It's
It wasn't
just
2 years.
been left.
So Councillor Green would like to speak.
Councillor Green.
I would suggest Councillor Firth could have brought this to the council 2 years ago. That was probably 2 years ago. Like that, couldn't it?
We brought it to the council a while ago. And I went to see them. I had bothered to off my backside and go talk to the businesses.
Let's just kind of explain that something's happening now and move on.
I will see.
But Councillor Firth, if you do know businesses that you think are not being communicated, could you let somebody know so that we can at least send them the latest information?
Can do that, yes. I can indeed.
Thank you.
I know people that will join on both businesses together.
Does anybody know how many businesses we've got in Holme Firth? Or we used to have? Anybody any idea?
I can actually answer that question.
Yeah, go on,
Councillor
then.
Ramsden.
I did the vacancy survey, there's 188.
How many?
188 in the town
And they're
centre.
still there?
Yes.
Because I've got a book at home shows there's about 190 odd, and most of those businesses aren't there anymore anyway.
Well, we have 188 businesses in Holme Firth town centre. We haven't, which you wouldn't, by that standard, we would.
Remember, you told me somebody has worked in Holme Firth for over 50 years.
Yes, excuse me, I'm going to move on. So we've had the point, we've had the update, and I'm moving on to the next item on the agenda, which is Earnshaw's Foundation. Holme Valley Parish Council representative requested.
Yeah, so this is me. This is a mistake I've made in that I can't remember how it turned out that we took Earnshaw's Foundation up of the representatives you appoint at each annual meeting. But either way, it was taken off. That was then corrected. But this May, I forgot to make sure it was on the list. So, and whilst Earnshaw's Foundation don't meet as such, as I understand it, they do need a Holme Valley Parish Council representative in order to still exist, basically. So we have been asked to consider appointing a Holme Valley Parish Council representative to Earnshaw's Foundation, and also to amending the list of representatives to be considered at successive annual council meetings. So those are the motions for you to consider.
Councillor Ramsden.
Can I nominate Councillor Whitelaw as it is in her ward?
Can we ask Councillor Whitelaw if she's okay with that?
This is on the back of me being the Holme Valley Ward Councillor, and of course the Earnshaw's Foundation looks after the Sunday school in Holme Valley, and yeah, so they're putting their books in order basically. Yeah. So yes, fine by me.
They only meet once a year, so it's.
Yeah, in fact.
All those in favour of Councillor Whitelaw being representative?
Unless Councillor Whitelaw.
Thank you. Okay, please, local plan review. Councillor Blacker to update.
Right, the local plan reference group is, I think, running along quite nicely, been going for about a year now. We have met again since the notes that you've got are the notes of the previous meeting. We met again on the 5th of December, but I haven't managed to type up the notes to that yet. The meeting on the 5th of December was attended by Joe Scrutton from Kirklees Council, who is leading the Kirklees on the update of the local plan. And the entire meeting was taken up with questions to Joe and with input from Joe. And I think that everybody there found this extremely valuable. Kirklees are apparently leading the way on the update of the local plan in terms of local authorities. At the moment, if there is some hold up, it's about waiting for documents coming from central government. They're National Planning Policy Framework, the new version is due out on the 18th of December. And until that's out, then it's quite, there are various things that Kirklees officers can't do. They need the new version. They are the process of making a plan, a new local plan, has been speeded up. But it's also to be balanced with additional consultation, which seems quite a difficult circle to square, really. So we'll have to see how that goes. There will not be another consultation until the draft local plan is issued, but there will be a newsletter which is going to be first edition of which will be coming out at the end of December, beginning of January. I think I might ask if Andy wanted to say something about the green belt, grey belt issue, because I think Andy's becoming our expert on that. I mean, this is a big hot issue. Would you just like to say something, Andy?
Yeah, can I? I think there are sort of two aspects on this for me. I mean, firstly, the current MPPF came out in December last year, and that includes in there this concept of grey belts. And we're already seeing applications now on the basis that they were green belt, now are grey belt, and they are getting approved. There's another MPPF comes out in December this year, and we're already saying that actually, although it won't be, they'll be consulting on it in the new year, they're actually going to be working to it from January. It seems a bit bizarre. We don't know what's in it, but planning permission in January will be to the new MPPF. So it's slightly odd. I think the other part about the green belt, grey belt thing is, and we don't know the answer to this yet. Kirklees have said that they are going to do a complete review of all green belts. And presumably from that they will move some of it to grey belt. But we don't know what parameters they're using to make those judgments. We don't know how much it will be. Could be not. Or it could be big areas. We don't know. And that's currently underway. I think the consultants are actually doing it now, aren't they?
I think what they're doing is assessing each parcel of land against the purposes really of the green belt. And some of them will score highly and some of them won't score highly, but that's we know is about specifics of how it's been done. Thanks, Andy. In terms of the work the reference group's doing, it's obviously imperative that we get our ideas in quickly before the local plan, the update of the local plan has been firmed up. So we're now working towards producing another document. It'll be about the end of January, which will be about a year since we submitted our initial document. So we've got various groups, I think it's 10, 11 groups working on different aspects of the plan. So it's, I mean, I have been very pleased by the level of engagement by local groups and by people who have an enormous expertise in their field. It's, I think it feels like it feels to me like a good process, and we are having a lot of support, I would say, from Kirklees officers. So this is an example of where the partnership working is working.
Good, thank you, Councillor Walker. Councillor Whitelaw.
I would like to go on record with you saying thank you to Mary in leading the work on this, because it really is a substantial amount of work, and it's going to get bigger and more complex. And I think there may come a point at which we say we need some support here, because it's a big area for us to be dealing with quickly and efficiently. And the other thing I think I say is it's been an absolute object lesson in terms of collaboration and working together with community groups who have contributed to the work of the, you know, that we've done so far, and long may it continue really. But yeah, the main point I'd like to make, this is not going to slow down, it's going to ratchet up big time.
Councillor Wilson?
I was wondering if it was worth mentioning the Peak District that's running in parallel with this. Yeah, the Peak District National Park are also doing their local plan, and of course we've got bits in the Peak District, so we've been contributing to that. Firstly to the initial consultation, I think that was back in November.
Yeah.
And we've now issued a second consultation that we're actually feeding back. There are 71 policies to review, which sounds a bit daunting, but actually when you look at them, I think most of them you can just agree with. But nevertheless, it's running in parallel with the Kirklees local plan, and I think it's important that we do contribute.
Thank you. Councillor Martin?
Just in response to that, I think it's worth noting that we have made efforts to ensure that the people in Holme, who are the main area that's affected by this, and the residents association, the community group, are involved with this and have an opportunity and are aware. I think it's about awareness as much as anything.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Anybody got any questions on that? Okay, I'll move on. Community governance review. Councillor Bailey.
Yeah, I won't say too much about this because you've had loads of information already. I'll report here on behalf of our working group, which is Councillor Bellamy and Councillor Griggs. I'm grateful for their input, and I'd also like to acknowledge the input I've had from a lot of people. You know, there were invitations for people to contribute thoughts and so on. Not everyone, but a lot of people had. There's nothing, there's just one thing for us to sort of consider tonight really. I mean, in terms of, there's not much point in discussing that too much further because it's already gone in to Kirklees. It was sent last week, I've had an acknowledgement, so it's there and we're in their hands now, which it'll be a few months before that moves to the next stage. The only thing that I'm going to suggest that we do consider, which came up from the conversations, was about, as they call it, restyling the name of our parish council. And there was quite a lot of thoughts around from people, you know, commenting that they thought that it was time to do that now, with a particular thought about the parish word in it and the connotations of that. And when I went for advice on that to the Kirklees officers who took legal advice, they said, you know what, you can do that yourselves. You don't, that won't be part of this review, and you can do it. So I'm not suggesting for a second we should debate that at this moment, but I was going to, if people are in agreement, I was going to ask that the clerk actually schedule a some time for a debate, and we'll consider it properly then.
Okay. Anybody got any questions?
Okay. I was going to ask a question. So something in there about changing the names of wards as well, wasn't there?
Yeah, that's gone in already as a.
Oh, right.
So there's nothing to debate at this point on.
Okay. I just thought, well, my comment on that would be, it's like, where do you draw a line on that? Because like my ward's Hepworth, Jackson Bridge is in my ward. So are we going to rename it Hepworth and Jackson Bridge? Or like Netherfond ward, are we going to rename that one Netherfond and Oldfield? It's like.
All I can say is I didn't hear about that during the consultation.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Right, moving on. Concerns regarding Packhorse Bridge, Smithy Place, Brockholes. Councillor Bellamy.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I raised this because of the ongoing and escalating concerns about the condition of Smithy Place Bridge, which is in Brockholes, and it's great to list it. I've had loads of residents contact me because more and more coping stones are missing. In fact, they're in the river. We know where they are. They've been pushed off the edge. But it's left structure exposed and vulnerable to additional deterioration. And despite 1,001 reports and assurances from Kirklees, I still can't get a confirmed timetable for repairs. And I do think that the delay is increasing both the risk to the structure and eventual costs, because it's just going to cost more and more if it's left. So it ain't about criticism, but it's about prevention and early intervention. And how we can avoid more extensive and expensive repairs later, particularly given that the bridge is a heritage status. So what I wanted to do, I brought it here with the thought on if you could give the clerk maybe permission to contact Kirklees regarding the bridge, which is what some of the residents of Brockholes have also asked me to ask you, to see if we can get a timetable of when they're going to repair it, because of it's going to get worse. So I just wondered if the parish council could also contact Kirklees regarding it, because it's an heritage asset.
Councillor Rylaw?
When you say you want us to write to Kirkley, who exactly? I mean, is this, this is my ignorance, is this highways?
Yes, it's highways and the heritage officer, because it's a heritage asset. It's great to listed bridge that is just been vandalised.
Councillor Rylaw?
It's just some backup. That's all I want.
Can I just ask what replies you have had so far?
Yes, we'll do it, but I can't tell you when. So I just want, some to say that it's, you know, it's a heritage thing. So
It might be useful if we could see the email, just because often they put quite a lot of detail in there.
yeah, it is. They know about it and they've said yes, they know, and it does need doing, but they won't give me a timetable of when.
Councillor Morgan?
Probably
That's what I was going to say, that if you've reported it, they will mend it, it'll be on their worksheet when they get round to it. No, it's not wanton to do that, it's just how you physically get round to repair things.
The residents of Brockholes actually asked me if I would bring it up here as well as from
I
their
think they
place.
should be bringing it up with you as a Kirklees councillor then.
They asked me for both, because we actually, I spoke with Rich about it as well at the community event, didn't I, Rich? Because they'd asked me.
Sorry, can I just respond again?
Yeah, go on.
We don't have an authority to do that, and Kirklees does. So it's a bit misleading of you, it's misleading of you to say that you're bringing it to this council when it's a Kirklees
Because
responsibility.
they brought it as well to this council, because it's a heritage thing, and they just wondered if you would back them up by writing to Kirklees as well. Don't know if you don't want to, you don't want to.
Exactly.
I've got no problem with writing to us, but I think it's probably more than to the planning committee. So it might be something to go towards them, and I think if we write to them for this first instance and just say to them, is there any timescales for when these works are going to be planned, and then in more correspondence go through the planning committee, and then they'll be on the minutes for the full council.
Councillor Bailey?
I don't think we should do it. I think, you know, this is, I mean, I trust Councillor Bellamy to look after the interests of people in Helmvale North and to pursue that. It may be that Councillor Fenwick, who is the ward councillor from this parish council, will take an interest in that as well. But I'm particularly concerned about the clerk team time in duplicating things that are already being done.
Councillor Green?
I think for the sake of writing a letter, I don't see why we can't do it. There is a precedent. When I was on planning, I remember the road at Burnley, we were sending letters about that and other rights of way issues. So I think there's a precedent for the council having done it in the past, and with it being a heritage bridge, I suppose, sending a letter.
Councillor Wilson?
Only if we like, I can put it on the planning agenda, and then we'll deal with it through that. And we can write if that's what we think is appropriate.
If you think that's the best way for Councillor Ryle?
I'm not saying that we shouldn't do that, but also the other two ward councillors in Helmvale North
are both aware of this,
Yeah,
and
so-
they
so-
both had the same response as me. So all three of us
So
have
all
been.
three of you have contacted?
Yes, all three of us have. Yeah, yeah, because I've seen Councillor Green's emails as well. As well as his email.
So it is being changed, but in order to satisfy Councillor Bellamy's request, so we're all in favour of moving that to the planning committee to consider writing a letter to Kirkland. We dealt with through that.
Yeah.
Everybody in favour of that? Anybody against?
It wasn't
Abstained?
my request, it
No,
was,
no,
it
sorry,
was the residents of Brockles has requested it to heart here.
Pass that to you then.
Thanks, Anna.
Democracy friendly schools. Mary, are you up again?
No, Jenny's.
Oh, sorry, Jenny, yes.
Yeah, just briefly, I think they've just updated you as to where they are with the schools that they've contacted. We've, the working group did sort of meet with Michelle, who's the woman from Kirklees who really is responsible for this, and she's made contact with most of, there's been an expression of interest in most of the schools, probably as many as she has time to deal with at the moment, given that she's also dealing with the whole of Kirklees rather than just the whole valley. But they have agreed to come and do a presentation at our annual meeting in March, which I think you'll find interesting, because everybody expressed an interest in this when she came to speak, and I think, you know, it is an exciting project, I think, and I think we should all just be willing to make contact with the schools in our particular ward at the appropriate time, you know, and hopefully when they come and speak in March that will inspire you to want to do that. I think Holme High School is the one that's lapsed at the moment. Actually, yeah, I think most of them are sort of making contact. Netherthorne is down here, has not been on the tick list, but I think they have expressed an interest, haven't they, Netherthorne? Yeah. So I think it's moving forward, which is great, and we'll hear more about it in March. Okay?
Anybody got any questions? Councillor Stewart?
I'm a bit surprised, there's I can't find it on my thing at the moment, but there's a sheet which says which ward schools are in,
Yes.
and Holme High is in my ward, but it was down as Holme Central, and Nab is down as, I think, Waldale, when it isn't in Waldale, so I'm a bit sort of baffled by that really. But I am perfectly willing to communicate it with Holme High, which is in my ward, and see whether I can persuade them to go for it.
Okay, well that'd be great if you did take it on, because who else would be? It would be Mary or Jane, you're central.
I don't know, it's now
Yeah,
central.
we'll sort that out, yes.
Thank you. Right, Holme Valley Parish Council Community Nature Reserve.
Yeah.
Who's reporting on this one?
Well, it's a statement that I put in the papers,
Right.
the foundation document that we want to put onto the website, with the aim of just connecting people to a membership of doing nature-friendly things in the Holme Valley. We've had a meeting about it and about some of the steps that we could do. We are negotiating to put swift boxes up in Netherthorne with BTS Rich, and I would like there to be a mass communication to do with the RSP bird count in January, with the people that we recruit for our next project. But that's it really, just going along.
No, what's money for swift boxes?
No.
You might have got to get any questions to Councillor Morgan.
Under the second piece there.
Sorry?
Just propose it under the bottom bit of that.
Can I propose it? Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Under the any other actions bit.
I thought you said no.
Well, I didn't know that was there.
All right, sorry. P.S. We'd like to take some money from the earmark reserve, general reserves, because we have an earmark reserve that won't be applicable till April, because we're not quite sure when the open reach engineers will be offering their services. So we'd like to provide 15 swift boxes and be ready to go when they say that their date is. So that's the proposal.
We need to propose the amount.
So it's about £450 for 15 Swift boxes.
Okay.
To improve the value.
Right, so when you say about,
Well, no, I did the maths from the Swifts for Action Trading Company, and it's 145, 400.
Just say up to 500.
Right, okay, up to 500.
Boxes, not pounds.
Okay.
Up to 500 pounds.
Okay, so all those in favour of 100, up to £500 from earmarked reserve?
No, general reserve.
General reserve for Swift boxes, yeah. All those against? Okay, that's carried. We also need to consider approving the foundation statement that you've put down.
Yes, did everybody read it?
Okay, can we have a second for that? All those in favour? Anyone against? Okay, that's carried, thank you, Alison. Establishment of the Ethics and Integrity Commission. Councillor Whitelaw.
It was literally just something, I'm sure you all read in great detail all the still executives' reports and things. But this was one that really jumped out because of the work that we've done in relation to standards and the conversations that we've had and concerns really about integrity and objectivity and all those things. So it was really just drawing your attention to the establishment of the Ethics and Integrity Commission, and that NACL have said, yeah, we're up for that, it's a really good idea drawing these things together. So I would suggest having a look at it if you haven't already.
Councillor Whitelaw, anybody got any questions for Councillor Whitelaw on that? Okay, thank you. Item 151, grants to community organisations. Councillor Bailey.
Yeah, this is about it's about transparency, but it's also about supporting the community, enabling the community to understand where their money is being spent. And we've had conversations about that here in the past. And my feeling is that sometimes that happens, often it doesn't. People receive grants, they might give it a mention in various places. I think we should be clearer in our expectation of organisations, both in terms of the application form for grants and also the evaluation forms, that they, how they are actually announcing, look, the source of this funding is the parish council, which is obviously working on behalf of the rest of the community. I've got another thing that I was going to say as well, but that's that bit.
Okay.
Do you want me to go on about
Yeah,
that?
okay.
So the other bit is about sponsorship. To my knowledge, we sponsor one thing in the Holme Valley, which is Holme Show, and I think it's a great thing that we do that. I would like to see us being more proactive in sponsoring things, so it's not just we're being reactive to grant applications, but we are actually looking for things that we can support and fit with our agreed values and objectives, and broadly that.
Okay. Anybody got any questions for us?
Just with regard to Councillor Bailey's first point about publicising, I think it's quite normal in life generally for that to happen. I've been involved in getting grants, some very large ones, for building improvements and things like that. So there was a stipulation that we acknowledged where the money had come from, which does benefit the benefactor, of course, but also in our case it's a publicity thing, isn't it? To publicise more widely the good work that the parish does.
Councillor Blacker.
I agree with that with the proposal, and I suggest that it's given to the grants committee to do some more work on it.
Councillor Holme.
Well, I was going to say to send it to the working party that's established. My concern is that the chair of that is Pat, who is obviously going to be incapacitated for a little while. So I would ask other people, either Mary or Andy, to set. We've not had a date for the working party because Pat would have done that, and because she hasn't, we need somebody else in that working group to actually set the date for the next meeting. And just because Andy's in my direct line, you know, if that date can be set soon. I can't see Mary, but, but I think it's important because I do think it's a very good point, so we don't want it to be lost, and we don't want, the working party has nearly completed its work, but not finalised it, so we do want to make sure that that's been proposed at committee before the next set of grants is due in February or anywhere. So we've got to do that in a timely way.
Yeah, just on that point, I can circulate some dates.
Great.
Does anyone else want to join this group? Because obviously Pat's not going to be around for a while, this by the looks of things.
Yeah.
Just to sort of an opportunity for others to get involved. No? I'll send you some dates.
Okay, thank you, Andy.
The other point I wanted to make, I mean the first part of this, yeah, fine, I think, can't see any issue with that at all. I'm just a bit unclear how the second part would work and how that would fit in with our grants policy, grants budget.
Well, it does do for Holme Show.
Yeah, I think that's a rolling grant that we have. Richard told me that.
It isn't, no, it's voted every year by the committee.
Oh, is it?
It's not rolling, no.
Where does it come from then?
Well, it's the communications and engagement working group now, i.e. through council, but it's,
So I meant in terms of cash, where does the
well, from they've only got one budget line. It's just a communications and engagement, I think it's called. It just comes from there. But they can vote against it. It's not set in stone.
But it's not coming from the grants budget?
No, it's not considered a grant. No.
Just need some thinking about it.
Yeah, and perhaps all I'm seeking at the moment is perhaps agreement in principle with this, you know, and it may be that this gets followed up with different proposals about specifics that we might want to look at sponsoring.
Would it be appropriate then for the grants working group to look at that as well?
Between social.
I mean, I believe some of the grants we did could be considered sponsorship. It depends how you look at them, you know. Yeah.
I was thinking that.
And I think maybe then it's incumbent on us when people put in a grant request to look at it and say, actually, we're going to give you this, consider sponsoring this event for whatever. You know, if we're producing, I guess the sponsorship for the for Holme Show, is that producing the brochures that they have?
It's we basically sponsor the event brochure.
Right. So it's something to consider. Let's consider it as part of the grants working.
Thank you.
Okay. Updates from the Communications and Engagement Working Group.
I'll kick off with this one. So you've had the papers. I'd like to note, please, that the support that we're having from Gemma, the assistant clerk, is worth its weight in gold. And you'll see that she's dealing with a lot of action points. But I think everything is in hand that we need for the immediate future. It's perhaps worth saying something about the social media training under this heading, if you like, because a number of us went along to Social Progress, and I personally found that really quite helpful in terms of thinking about how one presents oneself, and indeed where and how one responds, etc., and the sorts of things one says about the parish council and its activity and one's own views, etc., which sort of ties in with the previous point about integrity and objectivity and all that sort of thing. So that was really helpful, I found. Don't know about the other people who managed to. Lawrence, you were there, and Jenny, you were there.
I found it very useful because, you know, I'm not a great user of social media, but it did convince me that of how important it is, that it is a way that most people access information about what we do, so we've got to get better at it. So there have been trying to set up a date for a meeting for all of us to come to.
Excuse me, while people are talking, do you mind not having separate conversations? Please. It's very rude to be talking over people. Councillor Holmes, please
I
continue.
didn't realise I was talking over anybody, I'm whispering.
You weren't, no, you weren't whispering.
Okay, I
No
think it's...
problem.
Oh, I have a problem yes, when you're interrupting people speaking, yes. I think it's very rude. Councillor Holmes, please continue.
Thank you. The social media training is now, we're trying to fix a date for everybody to come and attend that meeting, and I would encourage everybody to come to that because I do think it's useful, and whether we like it or not, it is an important aspect of modern life and how we communicate. So we've got to embrace it as best we can, and I don't have we managed to fix a date for that. I know there's been lots of suggestions.
Thank you for that. I think it's worth saying that, of course, social media is only part of, and that was a point that was really well made.
Yes.
But I think, wasn't it, Tricia? But that it was, you know, this is part of a whole range of ways in which we engage or don't engage or are successful, etc., etc. So, you know, you have to absolutely take it seriously, even if you don't utilise it yourself. The only other thing I think that's worth mentioning is the annual parish meeting that we're starting to plan for. And if anybody's got anything that they would like to say about that, then please do share it with me or one of the other members of the group. And, you know, we want it to be an engaging and lively and productive event, not just one person and his dog or her dog turning up.
Thank you. Councillor Davis?
It says on the chart, somebody's provided training sessions to be arranged autumn or winter. This is 2025-2027. Which autumn or winter?
Sorry, say again?
It says training sessions to be arranged autumn or winter. Is that this year or next year or? All right, okay.
Yeah. So that's, if you have a look at the information from Gemma about the action points, there are. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So there's ongoing things. So I'm not. I don't think any of us are suggesting this is a one shot and you only get a chance to do things once. But you know, it's that question about people's availability and accessibility, etc. So if people were not able to go to sessions that were in the programme, then we'll do more because it's important stuff.
Thank you. Okay. Appointment of committee vice chair. This is just to note, isn't it?
It is.
It is. So, following the resignation of Councillor Barney, Jenny Holmes has been appointed by the Finance Committee as vice chair. Congratulations. Design guide for shop fronts, request for assistance from, I assume this is you.
It is. I think councillors may or may not be aware that this has been produced from the planning committee. The shop front design guide. Just a bit of background. I mean, for me, I'm quite proud of the character and the charm of the whole valley, and I hope that all of us share that. And this guide goes some way towards trying to maintain that pride and that heritage that we have in the Holme Valley. It's been produced by the Conservation Group along with Councillor Ransby, and thanks for that. For my part, what I'm determined that we do is that it doesn't just sit on that shelf there, 500 copies, and it goes nowhere. I think we have to get it out into the various communities. So towards that end, we're on with doing a mailing list to all the architects and designers, and those will be posted out. But there are only about 24, 25 of those. There are 344 other businesses in the Holme Valley that we need to get this out to, which is a bit daunting. And that's been reduced from about 470, something like that.
Something about order.
What I'm proposing is that we hand deliver these as councillors. And it'd be nice to think that we all did our own wards, but of course doesn't quite work out as nicely as that. But nevertheless, I like the default position to be that we're all getting involved in hand delivering these guides to the businesses. So towards that end, that's my ask, can we all be involved with that? Clearly there are going to be one or two people that can't, perhaps not going to be delivering anything for the near future. Can I just do this now? So at the moment we are putting all these in envelopes with covering letters and addresses on them. Once I know who isn't available to hand deliver, then we'll bundle them up into different areas and hand them out to councillors. There is no particular rush to do this. Anytime before Christmas would be fine. No, there's no immediate rush. It doesn't matter if it takes 7 months, 6 years, it doesn't matter. So, who was first?
I was going to ask a question, sorry, I think.
I was going to ask you a question as well. There's two things. When you were talking about businesses, and then that says shop front, is it just going to shops? Not like, I don't know, not to have one factories in my ward, but you know what I mean? Is it just
From first buyers?
Yes.
No, we've taken out things like pubs, churches,
Right,
yeah,
okay.
and made, reduce the list as much as we can.
And did I hear you say there were going to be addresses on the front of the envelope?
Yes.
Yeah, in that case, yes, I will.
My question is, I don't know if I can do this because I'm going back a bit. Is there anything there regarding lights on the inside of the building? Because if we were to consider the grant in the future for the neon display, is there anything in that that suggests that we shouldn't be?
Yes, we are.
Interesting.
We are not in favour of box illuminated UPVC signs.
Right.
In fact, I don't think you'll find any planning department approving anything of that order now.
Right.
No, we've got one.
They are.
I think we have to recognise at the end of the day that this is guidance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No way to go that. But nevertheless, I think it's worth
This is a question to Councillor Wilson. Would it be helpful for it to an alert to go out through the business together group? Because that's a
Yeah.
So back to Andy's point, I think he was looking for volunteers.
I really wanted to turn it around and say, is there anyone that can't do it?
I think this is military volunteering.
One step forward. I think it's a good thing in a number of ways. It gets us all out into the community anyway.
Yeah. It's all we can.
Thank you. We'll get them all bundled.
Did you care to mention that we're exploring the possibility of not quite grants, but
No, he doesn't.
the money? Yes, he does.
But it's not on the agenda.
But it's part of this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, this has led to discussion about whether we should adopt a grants policy for shop fronts, similar to the one that we do in Malcolm. So that's something that currently we're looking at in the planning committee. And that fits quite well with us.
I'm not sure where the money will come from, but okay.
It is in the budget.
All right, okay.
So can I clarify, as no one has said they're not available, you are going to be giving a bunch of these to each of the councillors to hand deliver?
And I must mention, I know she's not here, but Councillor Jenner would be stuffing these in envelopes for last week.
Item 155, staffing review.
Sorry?
Do you want to speak to this or do you want me to?
Well, I wasn't at the meeting.
Okay, so I'll speak to this because I'm acting chair of the staffing committee because of Pat being unavailable. This has been around for a while. We're recommending that we go ahead with this review. It will help to clarify an amount of things, I think, in terms of the roles and responsibilities of each of the members of the team, and it will also review what we're expecting of those staff and what's reasonable, etc. So I think it will unearth a number of things. In terms of a specific proposal, I'm going to look to Rich as to whether we've already got money earmarked for this in the budget.
We don't know. I mean, this will mean that it would change our budget calculations. Well, it could change our budget calculations depending on how we voted here. It's simple to do, obviously.
Probably not okay, but well, we need a decision really, don't we?
Yeah.
Okay, go on.
So you've got two motions to consider. First is to give approval to a review of staffing, and then the second to decide what expenditure that you want this to have, bearing in mind that will affect your budget discussions, which come a little bit later in the agenda. Item 157.
Can I ask when the last review was and how often these reviews should take place?
There was a review not that long before I arrived, I think. Was it about 2020?
2020, I think.
2020. I mean, there's no.
Okay, so it is an appropriate time to have a new one. Yeah.
Councillor Wilson?
Could I suggest if we are going to do it, we do the full review?
Well, let's firstly, who wants to approve a review of staffing? All those in favour? Any against? Any abstains? Okay, so we're going to do one. So the next question is, we can either do a light touch assessment or a full assessment. What's the best way to do this? To vote for which one you would prefer to do? Councillor Holme. So who would prefer a light touch? Who would prefer a full review? I think that's carried, isn't it? Okay.
So you're setting expenditure of up to £2,000, is that correct?
That's correct. Home First Toilets update. There is a statement from Councillor Morgan in the agenda.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to add to that?
No, not at this moment. I think just setting out the plan. What's coming next.
So we're noting Councillor Morgan's report. Approving the budget for the council year 26-27. Do you want to give us a quick update on this?
Yeah, so the budget you're presented with as document P1, which is the one that our accounting package creates. This was recommended by the Finance and Management Committee to Council. So the actual budget that was recommended by F&M was £408,164. I just want to make clear it's only the budget that we finalise tonight. Once the budget is agreed, that's set in stone. We're not agreeing the precept and we're not agreeing earmark reserves. They're draft. The precept is kind of finalised in January. So this meeting we're just approving the actual budget, which the recommendation from Finance and Management was for £408,164. As I've said, we've now, in terms of this £2,000 for the staffing review, you could add that on to make the budget £4,010,164. It doesn't affect the draft precept. It doesn't affect the household charge. It just means there's less money going into general reserves. So it's not particularly problematic calculation. The budget as presented basically meant that all the committees got what they asked for in terms of the budget lines and in terms of the draft earmark reserves. So that's where that's at. if you want to factor in as we just discussed, this £2,000 for the staffing review, it would mean we had a budget of £410,164. That would reduce the contribution to general reserves from £51,223 to £49,233.
Okay.
That's it essentially. In terms of the household charge, as things stand, we were going to keep the household charge the same as last year, which would have been £41.52 to a Band D household. In terms of where that sits with other councils, that means we'd be a bit higher than the Kirklees average, which is about £34, so about £7 higher than that, but significantly lower than the West Yorkshire average, which is £57.51, and very much lower than the England average, which is £90.21.
Okay. So what you're asking is are we approving the budget?
It depends how you want to do it. I mean, you could vote on the £408,164 as has come from F&M and get the £2,000 from the staffing review from general reserves. That's absolutely fine. Or you could build the 2,000 into the budget and have a budget of £410,164. It's kind of up to you.
Yes.
I propose, Chair, that we have a budget of £410,164.
I'll second that.
All those in favour? Any against? Any abstains? Okay. Okay, reports from Kirklees Ward councillors. Anything to report?
You got anything? No?
I had scrutiny this morning, and believe it or not, I got a presentation on community asset transfers, which was quite interesting, and I am going to send it to Jen because apparently there is money available with Kirklees that community assets can apply for if there's some major repairs. And I thought about the boiler here. So I'll send this presentation, Jen.
Isn't it where a whole building is getting transferred to a
They said
community
it's
group?
retrospective. So I'm going to speak to John Bartholomew as well, but I'm going to send Jen that. Good thing.
I was going to mention, sorry, you finished. That's okay. I was going to mention the Kirklees Council budget. There is now a draft budget, and it's very interesting. I found it very interesting to actually look at to see where the money is going, and there's a consultation as well. So they're looking to get the views of the residents and to see how it feels for them as well. So to find it, I'm not sure what's the easiest way, but if you just Google it or just go onto the website and just put in budget, then you come up with it. And it's it doesn't have all of the details, which is good really, because there's a sort of book.
The book's that big.
So there's a lot of text, so it's quite accessible and quite enlightening if you've never looked at it.
Councillor Bailey?
I was going to propose, I'm not sure I still want to do this, having heard the last two contributions, but whether we all feel this particular item on the agenda is worthwhile continuing into next year, or whether we should discuss perhaps at the annual meeting.
I think it's within 6 months that you've just, you said you wanted this, so you can't reconsider it.
Coming on.
Okay. Councillor Dixon.
I think it does have its uses, and like, there's probably not too much to report at the moment, but like in the next 4 months there might be some big thing that needs reporting, so I think it's definitely worth keeping on. And I've changed my mind because I thought we should get rid of it a few months ago, but I think we actually are using it for the correct means now, communication rather than just slagging people off like some people tried to do before and using it for their own political agendas. But anyway, let's move on.
Okay, can I just confirm that we can suspend standing orders and continue this meeting, because it's now 9 o'clock. All those in favour?
Absolutely not.
There's only 2 items left. Outstanding items, the climate emergency. Have we considered actions taken for the above items reflect the climate emergency?
Yeah.
Councillor Ransby?
Can I suggest that in future this item goes to the first item on the agenda rather than the last, when we're sort of going, oh, have we considered this on everything we've discussed? Maybe we should be having it at the beginning to remind us.
Okay.
Rather than sort of think back and go, oh dear, an hour ago we should have discussed, we should have actually considered it.
Good point.
Thank you.
Finally then, items for publicity. Anything on those that we want to emphasise?
Democracy in schools, I'd like to suggest.
Okay. Swift boxes.
Also doing a Christmas message for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you everybody. Our call meeting is closed.